I don't remember falling. People always ask that, like the moment itself should matter more than what came before or after. But what I remember is the heat under the gown, the way the fabric stuck to my back, the slight ringing in my ears that had been coming and going for weeks. I remember thinking, just get through this. My name had already been called. I walked across the stage, shook a hand I can't picture anymore, held the certificate long enough for a photo I never saw. Then the floor felt distant, not like it disappeared. Just like it wasn't where I expected it to be. After that, everything is fragments. Voices that didn't belong to anyone I knew. Someone saying, stay with us. The sharp smell of something clinical. Then nothing. When I woke up, the room was too white. There's a kind of silence in hospitals that isn't actually quiet. Machines fill it in, rhythmic, consistent, indifferent. It took me a few seconds to realize one of those sounds was connected to me. My arm felt heavy, something taped down, something measured. A nurse noticed my eyes open. She didn't smile in a rehearsed way, just a small acknowledgement. You're awake. I nodded slightly. My throat felt dry, like I'd swallowed something I couldn't remember. What happened? I asked, though I already knew the answer wouldn't change anything. You collapsed at your graduation, she said. You're stable now. You've been out for a while. A while time felt stretched, like it had continued without me, and I'd re-entered halfway through. Did you call my parents? I asked. She hesitated just long enough for me to notice. Yes, she said. We contacted them right away. I waited. There's a specific kind of waiting when you expect footsteps, when you expect a door to open, when you expect someone to say your name in a way that sounds different than a stranger would say it. Nothing came. I didn't ask again. Hours passed. Or maybe it was longer. The light outside shifted slightly, but the room stayed the same. At some point, they handed me my phone. It had more notifications than usual. Messages from classmates, a few from people I barely knew. Concern, mostly. Confusion, and then I saw it, a tag. My sister, the photo loaded slowly, like it needed time to decide whether I should see it. They were all there. My parents, my sister, even my uncle who rarely showed up for anything, sitting at a long table somewhere bright, plates half full, glasses raised, smiling. The caption sat underneath like it belonged there. Family day without the drama. I stared at it longer than I expected to, not because it surprised me. That part had already settled somewhere deeper. Earlier than this, it was the timing. I was still wearing the hospital bracelet, still attached to things that beeped if I moved too suddenly. And they had moved on, not quietly, not privately, publicly, defined me in my absence. I didn't comment, didn't call, didn't even close the app right away. I just let the screen dim on its own. The next few days didn't feel like days. They felt like intervals, vitals checked, questions asked, adjustments made. Sleep that wasn't really sleep. No one from my family came, not even briefly. The nurses stopped asking if I was expecting visitors. That question fades after a while, replaced with something more neutral. Do you need anything? I didn't. Or at least, not anything they could provide. On the fourth day, maybe the fifth, I checked my phone again. 75 missed calls. They weren't spaced out. They came in clusters. Like urgency had replaced whatever had been there before. Mess followed. Call me. Where are you? Why aren't you answering? Then my mother's name, I opened it last. We need you. Answer immediately. No greeting, no mention of the hospital, no acknowledgement of anything that had already happened. Just need. I read it twice, not because it was unclear, but because it was. The shift was too sharp, too clean from absence to demand. I set the phone down on the small table beside the bed. A few minutes later, there was a knock, not hesitant, not rushed, just procedural. A man stepped in, holding a thin folder. He introduced himself as part of hospital administration. His tone was neutral, practiced. I need to go over some documentation with you, he said. I nodded. He flipped the folder open. You were admitted without an available emergency contact present. We followed the information on file, but there was no response. I didn't interrupt. In situations like this, he continued, we also review any listed responsibilities tied to the patient. In your case, there's something that requires your direct authorization. He turned the folder slightly so I could see. It was a form. Not medical. Legal attached to it were documents I recognized immediately, even before reading them fully. Family business paperwork. Ownership details. My name, not theirs, mine. It had been set up years ago quietly. Something about tax structure, long-term planning. I'd signed things back then without fully engaging. It had always been presented as procedural. Now it was relevant. Currently, he said, you are listed as the primary decision maker for these accounts. There have been multiple attempts to access them in the past 48 hours. I didn't need to ask who. They've contacted us, he added, requesting verification. There it was clear, external, not emotional, not interpretive, just fact. I felt something settle into place, not anger, not satisfaction, just alignment. The missed calls made sense now. The message, the urgency. It wasn't about me being in a hospital bed. It was about access. Do you want to authorize anything? He asked. I shook my head. No, he nodded as if that answer didn't surprise him. Understood. If that changes, let us know. He closed the folder and left as quietly as he'd entered. The room returned to its steady rhythm. I picked up my phone again. The screen lit up with the same messages, the same names. I didn't open any new ones. Instead, I opened a blank post. I didn't write anything dramatic. Nothing emotional, no accusation, just a timeline, graduation, collapse, hospitalization, no visits, the photo, the calls, the message, no adjectives, no interpretation. Just sequence. I read it once. Made sure it said exactly what happened, nothing more, than I posted it. Not for them, for clarity. Within an hour, the calls stopped, not gradually. Completely Mona's changed too, softer, more careful. Words like misunderstanding, worried, let's talk, I didn't respond. Recovery continued the same way it had before. Slow, measured. Unremarkable to anyone not living it, but something had shifted not in them. In me, I understood now that silence wasn't always absence. Sometimes it was structure, a boundary that didn't need to be announced to exist. I didn't block them out of anger. I blocked them because I didn't have a role left to play in the version of the relationship they were trying to return to. And I wasn't interested in negotiating a new one while lying in a hospital bed. Maybe later something would change. Maybe not. For now, it was enough to let the machines do their work, to let my body stabilize, and to exist in a space where nothing was being asked of me. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't being defined in my absence, and I didn't feel the need to correct anything. I just let it stand.